Prince Harry back in London to celebrate the anniversary of the Invictus Games, but he won't be seeing his father, King Charles. Foreign correspondent James Longman is in London for us this morning. Good morning, James.
Yeah, good morning, Michael. Prince Harry is back in the UK.
Prince Harry's return to London was supposed to be a triumph, a chance to commemorate a decade of the Invictus Games, his signature achievement. Yet, what unfolded was a public humiliation, a royal snub so profound it left the world buzzing. The Duke of Sussex, once a beloved figure, found himself at the center of a storm, with his own family refusing to see him and public opinion turning sharply.
He's here only for a few days. He's here to mark 10 years since the beginning of his Invictus Games, but despite the cancer diagnoses that have rocked his family, he will not be seeing his father, King Charles, or William and Kate whilst he's here. Now, his team has tried to get out in front of this.
How did Harry, the founder of such a respected event, end up in such a precarious position? And what does this mean for his future? The unthinkable jab. Graham Norton's cutting remark. The first crack in Harry's meticulously crafted image appeared on a late-night talk show. The beloved British host, Graham Norton, known for his razor-sharp wit, delivered a seemingly casual joke that landed with the force of a royal scandal. During a recent episode of The Graham Norton Show, Norton quipped about Prince Harry's potential attendance at the 2027 Invictus Games, suggesting Harry might be afraid the British crowd will salute. Just not him.
Charles is too busy to see his son, but that Harry hopes to see his father soon. Now, Buckingham Palace is not commenting on any of this, and I think it just serves to deepen the speculation that there's a real rift.
The studio audience erupted in laughter, but behind palace walls, the humor was lost. This wasn't just a punchline. It was a devastating public mirror, reflecting a truth many suspected but few dared to utter. Harry was losing his standing among the very people he once captivated. The jab struck deep, far beyond a mere television moment. A royal rage, Harry's furious outburst, and Palace's cold shoulder. The impact of Norton's comment was immediate and allegedly explosive.
Year when Harry spoke to our Will Reeve, he told him that he hoped to see much more of his family and he hoped perhaps that the sickness would bring people together, but that is clearly not the case on this occasion. No senior member of the royal family will be at the Invictus again.
Sources close to the Sussexes indicated that Prince Harry was watching when the joke aired, and his reaction was one of absolute rage. Whispers of him slamming a glass down and shouting about Norton mocking wounded warriors quickly circulated, painting a picture of one of his most volatile moments since the Oprah interview fallout. Yet, critics were quick to point out the irony. Perhaps the only one truly insulting the Invictus Games was Harry himself, by even considering not showing up. Compounding this, the palace's stance was chillingly clear. Despite King Charles's cancer diagnosis and the Queen's ongoing treatments, Harry found himself completely isolated during his brief UK visit. No meeting with his father, no reconciliation with William or Kate. Charles, reportedly deeply hurt and labeling Harry's actions a betrayal of duty, made it unequivocally clear: Invictus isn't optional. It's a responsibility.
Monday, William and Charles will have a joint event, and this afternoon, in this beautiful sunny afternoon here in London at Buckingham Palace, King Charles will return to the garden party. The first time he's been back at that event since his return to public life. Robin?
All right, James, our thanks.
The Invictus crossroad. Fear of rejection looms large. The burning question now is whether Prince Harry will even attend the 2027 Invictus Games. As of now, his attendance remains unconfirmed, a radio silence that has sent ripples of anxiety through event organizers and sponsors. It's not about scheduling conflicts or logistical nightmares. Insiders suggest Harry's hesitation stems from a profound fear: public rejection. He's reportedly terrified that British crowds, already critical of his public persona, might boo him at the very ceremony he helped create. There are also whispers that he worries the royal family will completely ignore his presence, especially after his repeated jabs in the press and his memoir, Spare.
Isn't it amazing? This is the result, Nigel. You and I have never had it. It's called religious conversion. The Harry we have now is not the Harry we had then. This is not the Harry of the Invictus Games. Nobody, of course, seems to know Latin anymore, at least the...
This isn't paranoia. It's rooted in experience. Harry has faced increasingly frosty receptions at every UK appearance since his departure, from Queen Elizabeth's funeral to coronation events. The cheering crowds have been replaced by a populace that increasingly views him as a traitor to tradition, leaving the future of Invictus and Harry's involvement hanging by a thread.
What's he done now? He's been persuaded of the doctrine of woke and the doctrine of mental health. God help him. And it's like a religious conversion. Every value that this man believed in before.
From prince to pariah, the shifting tides of public opinion. The impact of Harry's perceived wavering commitment has been devastating to his public image in the UK. Recent polls reveal a dramatic decline in his popularity, dropping to its lowest point since his 2020 royal exit. A staggering 72% of respondents believe Harry shouldn't return for the Games unless he publicly apologizes for past attacks on the monarchy, while over 80% no longer associate him with service or duty. Social media is awash with commentary mocking his indecision, with one user pithily posting, "He wanted to lead warriors, but now he's too scared to face a crowd." Even tabloids once sympathetic to his struggles are turning hostile, now referring to him not as Prince, but the California Duke, a nickname dripping with sarcasm meant to emphasize his perceived fall from royal grace. The public mood has undeniably shifted from disappointment to open resentment, leaving Harry isolated across the Atlantic.
To his grandmother, to his father. We see what the problem is with the new gospel, the new heresy of woke and of mental well-being. It's a gospel.
The king's ultimatum: duty, betrayal, and the threat of public exposure. Within palace walls, King Charles's frustration has reached a boiling point. Senior royal sources indicate the king is deeply hurt and furious over Harry's wavering commitment to the 2027 Games. Charles reportedly views Harry's silence as nothing short of a betrayal of duty, especially considering Invictus represents one of the last noble contributions Harry made before burning royal bridges. One palace insider bluntly stated, "The king has made it clear Harry's attendance is not optional. It's a responsibility, and the fact that Harry hasn't confirmed shows where his priorities truly lie."
But you know what, Nigel? What struck me about the whole thing was everything is so bloody petty. You look at it. We had a dispute about a tiara, a bridesmaid's dress. Do you know what?
The stakes are incredibly high. Should Harry indeed bail on the event, sources suggest the palace won't cover for him this time. This implies a potential public response from the monarchy, exposing Harry's actions without the usual protective silence, further deepening the chasm between father and son, and potentially shattering any remaining hope of reconciliation. The unraveling legacy. What's next for the Prince of Cancellations? The question remains. What does Harry's potential abandonment of the Invictus Games signify for his future and his carefully constructed image? Once hailed as a champion of veterans and a compassionate humanitarian, his reluctance to return to the UK casts a long shadow over his perceived dedication. American outlets, once largely supportive, are now beginning to question the Sussex brand's longevity, especially after Meghan's podcast collapsed and their Netflix specials underperformed.
The structures and the sheer, finally, silliness, the self-destructiveness. Do you know what? What I feel, I know what you feel, I feel contempt.
Meghan's shadow, a strategic silence or calculated distance. As the storm rages around Harry, Meghan Markle remains notably silent. Since Graham Norton's public takedown and the growing backlash over Harry's hesitation to return to the UK, Meghan has maintained a deliberate distance. No social media statements, no comments through Archewell, not even her usual coded messages about courage or service. Insiders suggest this isn't an oversight. It's believed Meghan has advised Harry against attending the London-based games from the beginning. Sources claim she fears his return to British soil would reignite old wounds, attract hostile press, and unravel the carefully curated Sussex rebrand in America. For Meghan, returning to Britain and facing boos or cold shoulders is a step backward in their Hollywood aspirations. Yet, her silence now feels cold to the veterans and supporters who once saw her and Harry as a united front dedicated to service. Her absence from the narrative only fuels speculation. Is she pulling the strings or strategically distancing herself from the escalating fallout? One podcaster even joked, he's no longer the people's prince. He's the prince of cancellations. The choice Harry faces is stark. Confront the British public and potentially salvage a core part of his legacy, or retreat further into his Montecito life, risking the complete erosion of his global philanthropic image. Will Harry choose to face the music, or will the Invictus Games, his most admired achievement, finally slip from his grasp, leaving behind a legacy of unfulfilled promises and royal rifts?